Okay, hello everyone at the Microbiome Book Club for Microcosmos geeks, physicians and doctors all around the world. And today we are going to discuss the book Toxic, Heal Your Body. And this is a very long thing because it actually covers, well, the most important thing, I believe. Heal your body from mold toxicity, Lyme disease, multiple chemical sensitivities, and chronic environmental illness. I always have to read it because I don't know it by memory. By Neil Nathan, and he is an MD. Incredible book. I know, Karen, you were talking about this book. Did you have a chance to go review a little bit? Does anybody want to go ahead before me?
No, you. Start you.
Oh, well, Hans has to leave. Does he have anything?
I have not read it because I love Adriana performing the executive summary for me. I have only
That's
okay.
space in my brain. But I will say one thing though, and it's not a promotion, but just a heads up. We have started running a Healthy Neighbor or the Healthy Neighborhoods project, and every Saturday we have a campfire style Zoom call where people can share what they do and also be educated by subject matter experts. I would love for all of you to maybe come on some Saturday morning to share your magic with the group so we can learn from you.
I totally will be there. I've been a little kind of overwhelmed, but these days because my kid was sick. But I will, as soon as I get a little bit, more balance in my life, I'm going to start, joining you and being more visible, which is what this book club is about, because I want you to be visible. I want you to be speaking about microbiome and how it impacts everything, the planet, the food we eat, our bodies, our minds, especially our minds in this time where, we're seeing a lot of stress, a lot of anxious kids, a lot of suicide. So I think this is a topic that we cannot overlook. And I want all of us physicians to be visible, because it just amazes me yet when I sometimes have to go to the doctor, to the ordinary doctor, and I try to speak about the microbiome. Some of them don't even know what is microbiome. And, it's, we just gotta catch up, because all those physicians have so much knowledge in health that if they just caught up and learn about the importance about microbiome, they will completely transform their practices, and they will completely transform the health of their patients and clients. So this is what I have formed this group, and we're gonna cover the book Toxic. I want to start by saying this is, I think, we have read so many books, and I would have said, yeah, this is my favorite book so far, because, I learned a lot of things I didn't know. And most of it, one thing that I would say I learned about this book is the importance of focusing in the immune system as a priority. Because, and I think this all made sense to me when I kind of, started thinking, okay, so a lot of people are ill, but some of them, they don't know they are ill. Some people don't even realize they have cancer until they do, or maybe it's too late. They go, through their lives, and they think they are happy and healthy, they feel fantastic, and all of a sudden, bang, a cancer or terminal diagnosis. Yet there are other people that can't even, go near perfumes or smells or foods. and they react to everything, but they never get cancers or they never get terminal illnesses. And so I think it's the same with what we're going through and learning about COVID. There is a lot about how the immune system, kind of remembers things. And this is why this book was very, it opened my eyes that besides looking at dysbiosis, besides looking at, all what can happen in a body, we can also look at the immune system as the main piece to reboot and calm down, especially for people who are extremely ill. And so I don't know if Karen, do you want to mention something you like about the book?
Oh my God, it's got so much information, but I had never really read a lot about that cell danger response. So, which he, I think he says that that's like the main thing that you should maybe start. Let me see, I know I wrote it down with treating. Well, actually he says first, which these are so hard. This is one question I had. He says, first treat, page 124, mold, Bartonella, multiple,
Karen, which page again?
124.
Mold.
Multiple chemical sensitivity.
Yeah.
Or
No, he says mold, Bartonella, mast cell activation, and porphyria, which unfortunately, and I don't know why he says Bartonella, that was my question, versus just Borrelia, Lyme. Bartonella is a specific, so I'm question several places I saw where he said Bart versus Borrelia, which I don't understand that, but if anybody does, that just a little question, I don't care, but that's what he said. But unfortunately, the problem is, and I'm in this camp, potentially I have some mold issue. It's so difficult to discern, and and to treat it is so overwhelming that I keep putting it off as hopefully the last that I'm trying to find anything else that's possible, But so they're also, so Lyme is controversial. They're also hard to diagnose, that's the problem. But anyway, what was our question? He said to start there, and then he talked about deal with the page 130. So deal with the threat that the cell danger response can set off, which then he says means look at methylation, vitamin D, lysine, the microbiome, B6, tryptophan, histamine, and heme, which is a big list.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so you're looking at 137?
that was on page 136, or no, 143, that was on 143.
143.
Anyway, it's a big list that's difficult, but so it's, you could spend a lifetime, I'm sure, working on it.
Yeah, that is what amazes me. And I think a lot of what I really love about him writing is, we have so many hours in the day to learn all this, right? And this is why I love, even if nobody read the book, I don't care, because you guys are doing your important thing in the world, and I am doing just this. So, if anybody is reading, that's perfect. If nobody's reading, it's fine, because I'm reading and I kind of summarize everything. I'll pass it on to you, the same thing you do, and pass it on to somebody else. Because, and I love the way he writes, because he quotes a lot of people that he learned from doctors and, researchers, like somebody in the laboratory, the Livermore laboratory, who I don't know, it's in the last kind of parts of the book. Let me see, where was it? A researcher, oh God, so much information. Well, he basically quotes a lot of people anyways, and then he learns from all of them different things. For example, something that I am kind of just starting to get into is energy medicine, and he is he writes in his book about energy medicine, and it's something I just can't, even though I have read about quantum microbes having quantum energy, so our microbiome having quantum energy, and I don't even know what is quantum energy, as you know, how microbes can have quantum. I don't even understand quantum.
You mean this quantum sensoring?
Yeah, FYI, you know, he just wrote a brand new book all about energy medicine. He just came out. Yeah.
That is my new thing now, and I have a friend, you know, sharing with me her energy. It's music, and I, you know, I am, forgive me, but I am not very knowledgeable about energy medicine, and I actually was a little, you know, not a very big believer in energy medicine until I did my yoga certification. And I started to run meditation practices, and I saw my mood, my health, my, you know, my aura just completely transformed. And, you know, from being sometimes grouchy and like, you know, not very receptive and kind of like, then I became this, oh my God, I'm kind of going back to my childhood. This is the person I used to be before. And all of a sudden I grew into this, you know, person I knew before that somehow I lost through illness. And that's when I thought, hey, you know, there is something to be for energy medicine. And this is something very new for me. And I don't understand it. I don't claim to understand it, but it's very interesting. And I would love to read the book. I think it has to do a lot with the microbiome too.
Didn't we speak about biophotons once?
Yes.
You and me and someone else.
Yeah,
yes. I think that's very interesting too. I'm looking forward to hearing when they have more machines all over the world so that they can measure that. But
I actually bought a book about it. Oh man. I consulted with this physician. He patented this laser, and I know we're going off topic, but I think it's the same kind of topic, right? We're talking about energy medicine. Light is part of it, but he patented this laser that is infrared laser, but that it can somehow penetrate deeper into the tissues of the brain, because he says that, you know, a lot of these caps and things that are in the market don't really do anything because they can't penetrate the skull. And basically he is curing people with suicide ideation, with severe anxiety, and even I think schizophrenia. And you can see his graphs of studies he has done in his patients, where basically I will think that when the blood-brain barrier breaks, there is a leakage in there, and I think he's going topically, you know, and I think, I mean, that coupled with, I think he's using ketamine intravenous, which he Dr. Nathan also talks about this, and how, you know, people who that are like 90% with suicide ideation transform to like 0 with ketamine, and combining the laser with ketamine.
So he's into infrared, because that goes like 4 to 5 centimeters in when you are, depending on what strength you have and, you know, pulses and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, I bought an infrared sauna, Supposedly these light bulbs are able to, I mean, they're like wide range of infrared. So yeah, so that's interesting to me, like so specific to go like 5 centimeter, 5, did you say what, 5 inches or 5?
It depends on the strength and where you hold it and what you put it on. The infrared sauna, I don't know how far they go in, if they go in 2 centimeters or I don't know.
Okay.
But I know that your core is a little bit warmed up, and that's one of the points of doing the infrared sauna, but I don't have the same feeling when I do with an infrared, you know, thing as with the sauna. When I sit in the sauna and infrared sauna, it's not the same.
It's not the same. So what?
It doesn't feel the same. It's the same thing, but I don't know how far it goes, and I don't know how the mitochondria. What's the difference in it? I think.
That's one of the things the psychiatrist said about his laser, that if you have Lyme disease, he would not go near any patient because Lyme, it's mitochondria. That's the main food of Lyme, is to be an intracellular pathogen and destroy your mitochondria. I mean, that's their food. And if if you want to just make a lot of mitochondria, the patients actually get really sick.
Interesting.
Can I enter in here with something? Adriana, I think it would be I'm going to lower my hand. I think it would be really awesome for you to get someone to talk to us, because we hear these things thrown out, and just in to me, I always refer to this book here.
What is it? I didn't see. Sorry.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
So when people throw things around like quantum energy, blah blah blah, it is a bullshit technique to dazzle us with some brilliance. Now, here's what I understand from quantum energy.
Yes. And I love this discussion, by the way. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I have grown into my beliefs because I was a mainstream dentist. I mean, I don't know how many mercury amalgams, and I am sorry to my patients, but I have grown into this practice as a microbiome coach. And everybody is in their own journey. And you'll get their hands, no problem.
Well, I mean, what I would say is the following: the whole area of biophotonics is a growing area, which actually I work in. Okay. I work in. Everything has a resonant frequency, so we use biophotonics to pick up specifically or measure specifically the concentrations of a group of plant molecules that are an objective measure of a person's fruit and vegetable consumption. And it's not life is not more complicated than if you eat right and you keep fit and you sleep well, you will likely live long and die quick. And as my friend would say, it's truly amazing what the human body and its immune system can do when provided of all the nutritional building blocks that it needs. Now, here's the problem. We all feel fine until we don't. And only 1 out of 10 of us is getting a healthy diet. We do these surveys every 10 years, and the nutritional, here's something for you, love. This is a dental review of why it would be interesting, with also references about how does what are the influences of nutrition on periodontal health.
Oh my God, everything. But I must say something, Hans.
Yeah.
Being a healthy nut, because I grew up in a healthy home where my grandmother cooked everything from scratch. We never froze anything. My grandmother went to the market every single day. And I remember walking with her, 12 o'clock noon, we would walk to the market and buy fresh everything, foods from fresh. We would come home and make food. And it was like a perfect diet. And coming from a perfect diet and being a diet just perfectionist, juicing and everything organic and grass-fed meats. I even work in a farm who raise grass-fed cattle and animals, and this is the way I ate, but I was still sick. And you cannot absorb your nutrients if you don't have gut health. If the villi are shrunk, you will reduce your nutritional surface, and your metabolism will not work even if you eat well.
So I agree with that. All I would say is that unless, as a scientist nerd, I trust God, everyone else bring me data.
Yes.
If you and your family scored high on this nutritional lie detector, I would be open to believe that you have a healthy diet and you are nourishing your body. If you do not, if you score like all the other 9 people, the other 90% you do not score well, I would say you're not providing your body with the nutrition. Now that may be for many reasons. It may be that you are inherited something, a condition from your genetics that compromises the absorption of these micronutrients, or it may just be that you're thinking you're getting it and you're not.
Or maybe it means that you're toxic and you have a lot of mold.
Come back to the comment. It is truly amazing what the human body and its immune system can do when it's nourished. We are not nourishing our population, and I think we start then chasing for the fixes rather than let's see what nutrition.
And I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
It's so let's not overcomplicate things.
And you cannot heal if you have a bad diet. You can't. That's the base. I mean, your food has to be the meant it was supposed to be for humans, right? But the thing is, what happens when you're already doing everything, Hans? Everything that, if a patient comes to you and he's like telling you, I'm doing everything and I'm eating organic and I'm eating or whatever the nutrition is. I'm taking my supplements, but I am still feeling really sick.
Well, the first thing I would do, Adriana, is I measure them on the machine. If they're scoring in the blue and the green, I would say, okay, you're working on a solid foundation, so your body is able to deal with the stuff. Let's now find out what other healing interventions needs to be to get that body back into homeostasis. And I use mushrooms. I use medicinal mushrooms. My wife is the only thing that my wife self-medicates on because she's cleared the post-herpetic inflammation from her eye shingles because of this particular mushroom prep.
May I ask what machine that is? Because I haven't heard of a Biophoton machine that.
Yes, it looks like this. It's very simple. It shoots blue light. And it uses Raman spectroscopy, which C.V. Raman got the Nobel Prize for. In 30 seconds, you put your hand in front of it. It shoots blue. The blue gets absorbed by these carotenoids and gets shifted to green, so that it reads green. The more green that's coming back, the more fruit and vegetables in your diet. Now, Main and Gellerman call it an integrated health biomarker because while primarily it's influenced by your fruit and vegetable consumption, it's also influenced by the weight that you carry and the stress in your life.
So it's not a biophoton.
No, it's a biophotonic scanner. So basically,
what's it called? You're not.
Sorry, it is called the Pharmanex Biophotonic Scanner.
Okay.
And to me, this is. And I'm sorry to hijack your call again, Adriana.
No, it's. I think I speak not for Adriana, but I think it's.
But really,
no, I love that kind of thing.
If we just keep that simple, You eat
it's
right.
easy for patients to just put their hand in there and have a little bit of a guidance of how are you doing. But my point is, we're going a little bit more deeper into people who are already doing everything and cannot heal. Those very ill patients that have mystery illnesses that go from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor, even like the best functional medicine physicians, and still are sick. And this is what I love this book from Neil Mason, because he points out the hidden toxicity, the hidden mast cell activation that exists in some people's immune system that sees things as a threat to the body. And the fact that if you are already doing everything and you're not still feeling really ill and just to borderline, depression, and he mentions like symptoms like, tingling and nerve pain and depersonalization and suicide ideation and things like they are really weird. And then they go to the ordinary physician and they're tested, but the tests can't really pick up the ordinary test can't really pick up anything because they are not testing for the hundreds of different types of strains that a tick carries when they bite you. And all of a sudden he mentions different testing that are more elaborate to test a wide variety of strains, and then all of a sudden they come positive. And then, oh, wow, then you start treating them. And some of them, even if you start treating the Lyme, some of them don't even get better. They actually get worse. Why? Because they start having antibiotic on top of antibiotic on top of antibiotic for years. I had a client who had Lyme disease who took antibiotics for 2 years, every single day. And by the end of the 2 year, the test came negative, and then it reproduced again, and then in the next year it was positive again, and it was a vicious circle.
FYI, I spent probably 6 years treating Lyme, and also part of the new theory now is that maybe it's your terrain. Like I tested positive to Lyme. Believe me, I had all the symptoms, but the treatment really didn't help me. And I spent years doing it. And in fact, I got sick in the hospital a time or two because of how heavy duty I, went. But FYI, so you have to figure out, like he says, what the root cause. Most recently, and I know I had major leaky gut, and most recently I've been working on the gut again, and I've had some great improvements.
Yes.
So it just depends what the root cause,
Yes, because it's a thing to eat a nutrient, let's say one nutrient, vitamin A, which is like one of the most important vitamins. But it's one thing to eat one nutrient, but it's a whole different thing to have 100 trillion microbes that are living beings, not just like one nutrient. And they do a ton of things because every single microbe has, an incredible, we don't even know what kind of metabolism they have, that they degrade anything, that they transform, that they, even work in methylation, so you can actually detoxify. So sometimes you're taking, maybe folate, which is great, vitamin B12, all those things help where you're not making your own. But all these microbes can complete all the metabolic pathways that you're missing from not having good genes. And I think this is the missing puzzle.
So could I have a reference for that statement?
Oh, what?
Because I would like. So you just said that these microbes can fulfill the metabolic pathways that our body cannot make.
Yes.
I would love to have that reference. Love.
For example, there is Rob Knight. There's Bob Knight. He is huge in microbiome. This is the first, he's one of my heroes, by the way.
What's the name? I didn't understand the name.
Robert Knight. And he runs
Knight.
Bob Knight.
Okay.
Does he speak about when people have problems with their B12?
Mm-hmm.
Does he speak about that?
I haven't heard him specifically talking about B12, but B12, I have a lot to say about B12, but he talks about, I took his course in microbiome, and this was a long time ago, so it's a very old course, probably not updated, but they were saying that they run a study where they tested people with the MTHFR gene mutation, which is a mutation where you cannot methylate properly to degrade folate. So they can basically break folic acid, or they can break folates to be used by the cells to methylate properly. So when they run this study, and every single individual in the study has low folate and low methylation. There is one person with the same exact mutation that has incredibly high numbers of folate. And they find that they have one microbe that makes a bunch of folate for her. So even her own genes are mutated. She can overpass that mutation, and she can have a beautiful life, beautiful detoxification, because she's making enough folate by her microbes. So we cannot overpass microbiome. And I think what we have talked about in previous meetings is that we, in the Western world, we have lost, I think it was like a third of our microbiome, comparing to older, kind of more like rural or more ancient civilizations. I don't know ancient, but like, I don't know, people like
ancestral. You mean ancestral?
Yeah, like remote. And I have two minds about it. Number one, it's not just about having a lot of diversity, which a lot of physicians in the microbiome say, oh, you have to have the diversity, you have to have the diversity. But it's not so much about that. It's so specific, because the Bushmen of the Kalahari have a lot of diversity, because they eat raw, everything. They eat from the ground. They don't use plates. They don't sit on a table. They eat from the soil, but they die early because they have infections. So even if you have a ton of beautiful diversity, it's so specific, and it's about the specific infection and how your immune system deals with it, and it's so individual. And there's a whole world of things to learn, and I think the more I read, the less I know. For sure.
Well, I mean, so I am not a clever guy, but I know a lot of.
I love you guys. I really love you.
Honestly, here's what I did. 13 years ago, I moved into wellness, and one of my friends, who is now the head of a big institute in Prague, said to me, with a little dig, said to me, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, Hans.
Yeah.
To which I replied, too much information can be deadly, because you don't do anything at all.
Yes.
Yeah. So really, if I look at back, if I try to keep it simple, stupid, because as a PhD, I can pile high and deep while I'm poor, hungry, and desperate. So really, it becomes down to that famous microbiome researcher called Zhao Liping in 2012. I'll put the link into the chat in a minute.
Okay, please.
He says, eat right, keep fit, live long, die quick. And what he probably was the pioneer researcher, and when his postdoc in Chicago. When he went back to Shanghai to take up a faculty position, he changed his diet. And that whole diet, which was rich in yams, changed his whole shape, and also increased the diversity and the concentration of a good bacteria in his gut. Now, my problem is, because I come from pharma and a deconstructionist approach, which is what we learned, what we have in the Western approach to science. You take the clock apart and then you put it back together again. And if you look at what we know in Western science, it's based on cutting up dead people and then putting the bits together. But we know that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So how about having a holistic approach, or marrying both, where you're trying to keep, like the Eastern philosophy looks at chakra points and meridian points and looks at what keeps the living human body in homeostasis. And that doesn't just require vitamin D, as you say, or vitamin A. It requires a whole panoply of nutrients that feed the biochemistry. If Agatha Christie says life is a physics experiment with biochemical trappings, how are you feeding your biochemistry?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of all of the enzymes, I mean, micronutrient deficiency or marginal micronutrient deficiency, which you're all familiar with the triage theory from Bruce Ames, you know, which was published in 2000. I put that in the thing as well, Carol.
Okay.
What theory? I didn't understand.
So to me, it's the most compelling argument to make sure that you and your family are nutritionally complete.
Okay, let me just add one thing that comes from the book, this book.
Yeah.
The challenge is, if someone gets off the path and, you know, they have a problem. I mean, I agree that eating well is a base, but what he says here is that because of the cell danger response, the body could get stuck in being overactive, and you have to then, he calls it, reboot the different areas of the body. So even if you have a good diet, you still might have to reboot. To me,
by definition, Karen, if I look at the over, it comes back to homeostasis. If you put my hand against me and we push, and I let go, you're going to fall into my face. That's what's happening with the immune response, because it is not being able to come back. Like with my wife's immune response against her virus, it was active all the time, even though the virus was not there. So
exactly what he talks about.
Yeah.
Exactly. We need to rebalance that immune response.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he says.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he says. Yeah. So, and I think what he comes down to is energy medicine to reboot the immune system, because and I know this happened to, you know, one of my kids who has multiple allergies, and he's been well fed all his life, by the way, except when he turned, you know, teenager and an adult, and he had his own mind and he went his own way. Things didn't go great. But yeah, with food, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't really help him with any supplement because he would react to absolutely everything. So I did 6 years of organic food and very specific, you know, almost no grains. And now I know why, but at that point I didn't know that there was a mold and yeast component really heavily, but I didn't know that. But I still did what, you know, I knew back then, which was a very low carbohydrate diet. And I was able to heal almost every single one of his allergies, except for egg white, which kind of fluctuated. You know, if he would take a lot of probiotics, and then that egg allergy went down, sometimes he would be able to eat a pancake with egg in it, with egg white. And that was the last one. And then he went back to school and he did his own thing. And then all the allergies started to come back and he started to fall sick again. And now this is why this book was so important for me, is because it helps me understand exactly that, how the immune system gets stuck. And apparently The only, well, I mean, I don't know if you have any, did you get any other idea about the book, but apparently it's energy medicine what will help. Oh, well, I mean, low dose immunotherapy and intravenous immunoglobulin. It talks about intravenous phosphatidylcholine to strengthen the vessels, but mostly he talks about energy medicine, and that is what I am very unknowledgeable about, and I want to get into it more. I want to understand it because I cannot believe so many physicians and so many PhDs are talking about this, and I don't know what is exactly behind this science.
When I heard him speaking about his energy medicine, he explained it different things that he did, that it started with hypnosis and Reichmann, not Reiki, something Reichmann, and I'm not familiar with the Reich.
Okay. Yeah, he mentioned it here too. Let's see.
Does he mention that in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then he has this intuition.
This what?
His intuition. That he has started to have these things coming up that he knows what some people, what he has to ask them or what could be going on. And he does a lot of tests. It's not that he doesn't do any tests, he does a lot of tests. And then he takes it step by step, but also that he can, from his intuition, feel that, here we have a block in this department. So he says that he has to be clean so that he doesn't go for Lyme every time or Bottonella or mold, or, that he has to be really clean to not pick up his own things because he wants to pick up their things. Is that what he says in the book also? Because that's what I...
Not so specific, but he does talk about that, and he talks about all the stuff that you said. He talks about it, but in not so deep like you're saying it right now. But he talks about intuition as well, and being one of the main things, because he says sometimes, sometimes you cannot tell someone what to eat because you will feel good with something, but then they won't, and you don't know what's going on in their metabolism. It's impossible to test everyone. So he says he goes with, that's what you said, intuition, that he...
Well, I'd like to interject, because I remember I've done food sensitivity. He talked about that. He talked about how the tests they don't test for every immunoglobulin. So that's where they fall short. So the best thing is a elimination diet, which, so FYI, to tell which food they may be sensitive to.
Okay. So
he does talk about that, not intuition. He uses the elimination diet and some food testing that ELISA, I remember he said ELISA, he likes the ELISA food testing the best, but they have limits. And so the best is the elimination diet, which is difficult to do.
Yes.
Yes,
I know. Yeah. I heard when he spoke about the elimination diet in another podcast. But could you please take from Hans now the links, because I won't be able to get them. I'm on my iPhone.
I think they will be here.
On my iPad either.
They will be here in the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about methylation. What do you think? You want to talk about that?
I think methylation is very interesting. I don't think it's everything, but I think it's very interesting. I always try to find out how my patients methylate, but it's not always working.
Yeah, it does.
When you can get the methylation panel. Huh?
Something very interesting he says is that some physicians are so into methylation that they think the more, and the more, let's say, folate they give, the better their patients will methylate. But he also talks about over-methylation and how he gives 200 micrograms because he believes this is what's working best for his patients. He says, it's not sometimes what works that give a really high dose of a nutrient. He says, sometimes if you give micro doses, it actually works better.
Can you say what page you're on? Because
page 222.
Thank you.
Timing methylation treatment correctly. It says, when a cell feels threatened, it intentionally shuts down methylation to deprive and infect. Oh, I found this really interesting. To deprive an infecting microbe of the capability to hijack the body's own methylation, because the microbe will hijack the body's methylation. So I think to use it for its own, and also to make the body a little bit less, to hijack the immune system as well, so it can reproduce. Because CDR is a protective mechanism, overriding that mechanism before the body is ready to move forward might not be a great idea. Oh, he's talking about how the microbes use over-methylation. So sometimes he says, doctors start with methylation and they start giving a lot of high doses of like vitamin B12 and folate, and that might not be a great idea, because what it's happening is that they are pumping up the methylation, and that's what the microbe is going to feed from, and what they are doing.
Can I interrupt? What page? Because
page 222, chapter 14.
Maybe your book's different than mine then. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Page 222 of mine is about weight loss. So I see now.
Okay.
I found methylation. I found methylation. That's okay.
I was wondering why when you were saying the pages, I couldn't find what you were saying.
Oh, you the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a different
I think edition. Mine is what edition? Mine is 2018.
So is mine.
So what I find is that a lot of people can't do a lot of methylation for the beginning, because they have this over-methylation, under-methylation, over-methylation, under-methylation, and this affects how much neurotransmitters they're making. And if they have a very great deal of serotonin and other especially serotonin, they are having breaking it down problems also. So they are feeling terrible.
Yes.
That's one of the main good things with some clients having SSRI, because it's they don't get a lot of serotonin, and they don't, we have that blocked, but it's a problem, of course. But when we work with this and we get their organism working so that we can pull off the brakes, you can get the methylation going higher without them over methylating. Is that or?
Yeah, that's what he says too.
Okay, can I just add an overview on that? I hate to tell you, but
you're breaking up, Karen.
Oh, sorry, I don't know. Again, on page 124, he says treat first, mold, BART, can't think of it.
MCAD.
MCAS, whatever.
MCAD.
Porphyria, because then he follows up and says, don't start with viruses, methylation problems, or SNPs, or heavy metal toxicity, even if labs show problems.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it seems very hard to have ruled out mold. I don't know why he says Bartonella and not Borrelia, MCAS and Porphyria, because they're all hard to test for. So
yeah.
I don't know, it boggles my mind, because
Yeah, I agree.
Because I know I've had many people, I've gone to these things, I've gone to methylation, viruses, SNPs, heavy metal, I've done all those you know.
Yeah.
So, but
and did it work for you or didn't it work?
I've done so many things. Like I say, the thing that has worked best for me has been not eating food because I had such a bad leaky gut.
Yeah. And did you test for mold and mycotoxins?
I have tested. I haven't, like I say, I haven't pursued that because it's just, actually, I had a doctor who was helping me that was going down the mold Lyme, and she died. She had, she got sepsis because she had a port. I don't know if she had mold or, she was a great doctor. And the only one in Northern California who took Medicare to treat, spent an hour with Lyme and mold for treating, and she died. So then I tried to follow up with another doctor who cost $700 an hour, who was supposedly a mold Lyme expert, because I wanted to know, was it mold or was it Lyme? And he said, he poo-pooed the mold on me, and we went down the Lyme again. And so, you know, it's so difficult, you know, it's anyway. So I have never really done a full mold thing. I've worked on Lyme a lot. But
I am building a mycotoxin candida mold course. And I am getting so much into this because this is what at the end kind of gave me results. That and increasing my microbiome diversity together is what really got me, you know, to a point where I can actually walk outside and not wear a mask. There was a point where I had multiple chemical sensitivities. So I remember a few years ago, my husband is like, come on, we haven't gone out in a long time. Let's go for a walk. And I'm like so embarrassed because I'm like, I don't want to go for a walk because I know I am going to be in bed for a few days. And so I said, okay, I go, but I'm taking my mask. And I just kind of hid my mask behind me. And I was walking behind him and the kids, I mean, he was walking in front of me and the kids, and I was behind him, just secretly wearing my mask because I could not tolerate the fumes. And I was doing everything, as I said, even probiotics and everything, and I could not get better. It was not until, and I think I also have some kind of babesia or some kind of thing, because when I started doing cat's claw, which is great for Lyme disease as well, and I started to get better. But it was not until I started treating candida. And I know I'm getting into this more and more because I remember my aunt, when I was little, I lived with my aunt and my granny, and we would be eating, and all of a sudden my aunt would start screaming, and then she would touch on the floor, trying to, you know, touch, because she would feel that she was falling in an abyss. And she had vertigo, and then she had epilepsy, and she had like a whole range of things. And that's how I got interested in health, because I was trying to figure out, doctors didn't know what was going on with her. And so I remember treating her. I was doing a whole denture for her because she lost all her teeth. And I did this beautiful denture. I, you know, was teaching her how to clean the denture, so everything was going to be fine. And then if I didn't see her for a couple of months, when she came back, her denture would be covered in thrush, completely covered in thrush. I could not make my mind up how, in the name of God, you could have, you know, I mean, where is the thrush? I could not see any thrush in the mucosas. I could not in the palate. The thrush was in the denture. And then, you know, when she passed away, it was too late for my knowledge. I didn't have any idea of this before. I could have, I believe I could have helped her. But something came to me whenever we were told in school, whenever you have a patient that has taken antibiotics, you have to keep an eye because they will develop thrush. And I feel this is like the mouth is the same as the mucosas in the digestive system. When you kill your microbiome that lives in your mucus, then you open niches. And then the first thing that you're exposed to, even, especially yeast and candida, which are opportunistic microbes, they will colonize and settle. And they will make great biofilms, and they will add calcium and things, and then will make hard, biofilms that are almost impossible to get rid of. So I'm getting more and more in this, because I feel like, even though it might not be a one fixed thing because everything is so complex, but I feel that this is really the underlying thing. And that's what he says in his book. Sometimes even you go after Lyme, you go after viruses, and nothing gets better until you treat the mold. And mold, I say mold and yeast, because I think sometimes you can't find mold, but you will find yeast. And it's hard to test because they have such a hard, cell wall, that it's hard for them to spill their DNA. It's like cracking on an eggshell. Like it's like, it reminds me of like, seeing under the microscope, we didn't know about anything because we couldn't see them, we couldn't grow them. So like almost 90% of the microbes, we didn't even know they existed. And I think this is the same thing that's happening with yeast and mold. We just can't test for it.
I think it's very good now with the oats, that you can see their metabolism, and that you can see the DNA in the PCR testing. Like, I don't know what you think about GI maps and different brands from them, but that's, when you are lucky.
Actually, there is a lab that will show biofilms, because that doctor who was helping me, I had a test with it. Fry Labs, F-R-Y.
I don't know about that. Is that for biofilms?
Yes. I had that. In fact, she was working on that with me. So that may be another reason I only saw her 5 times before she passed. And she was I was able to sleep. She was the only time in, I don't know, without medications. I stopped my medications and was able to sleep like a normal person for the only time since 1990, with the little bit time I spent with her. Unfortunately, like I say, she passed. And then the next person I went to couldn't do, did different stuff. So anyway.
That is amazing, Karen. So can you say again, can you put it in the chat? Is it Fry's Lab? I never heard of anybody.
F-R-Y, Fry Labs. F-R-Y.
F-R-Y.
So I'm in Europe.
Okay.
I have to look for a German lab.
Back then it was not cheap. I think this was in 2013. It was like $700 then. I don't have any idea what it is.
Okay.
And I got one follow-up after spending, like I say, 8 or 9 months with her. And that's when she passed. She didn't even see it. And it had come down substantially, my biofilm activity, in that 9 months that I'd been working with her. So. Wow. And like I say, I was doing I wasn't completely better, but anyway. So I don't know if
I took a biofilm course, and it kind of gave me a really good insights about the complexity of it, because we mainly focus in cystic fibrosis. So like biofilms in lungs for like, usually, Jewish descendants, or I think mostly they are more exposed to Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which is like one of the main biofilm producers that get just this mucus, they get the biofilms cover the alveoli, and then the mucus gets trapped in it, and they cannot clear the mucus. They keep secreting mucus. And they used to live only for like few years, and now they are, living 50, 60 years with antibiotics for their whole life. And but I thought that was very interesting, and that kind of gave me an insight of what can be going in the gut as well. Like Karen, you were saying, about Lyme, and I think Lyme bacteria also are great biofilm producers. And sometimes you would like kill one layer, but then underneath, like, you know, biofilms start opening, and you start like, there was somebody posting in a group, like he's like, oh, I had this and this and these microbes, and then I started treating them, and now I have a different microbes. And that's where I see a lot, that you start treating biofilms and you start kind of, it's like a sandwich. Like you start peeling layers and then things come out of there. But yeah, it's 11 now. And
yes,
we had an amazing.
Yes, lovely to see you again.
Lovely to
I have
see
bought
you.
some of the books and wanted to be on the talk, and then I couldn't make it, but I had the book and then I read the book. No,
and
so,
you know, I have a lot of videos and I haven't really had the time to you know, just
yes, but let's hook up and speak again. It was great to meet you, Karen. I would so much love to hear what you did with the biofilm lady, but I have to go now.
Okay.
So you take care.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so I guess you'll just post what the next book is? Is that how it?
Well, so because somebody wanted to review this one. I don't know if you read it. That was a November book.
No,
and this is going to be our next book. Because it was November and I couldn't make it for November book. So this is going to be The Hidden Half of Nature. And yeah, because I think people read it and then I kind of skipped it, and so February book.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
This is very interesting. And it made me read the book, which I'd heard about for years, but I couldn't get, you know. So thank you.
Let's go.
So thank you.
Bye.
Very nice. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good talk tonight.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. We today discussed the book Toxic, Heal Your Body from Mold Toxicity, Lyme Disease, Multiple Chemical Sensitivities, and Chronic Environmental Illness. We are the Microbiome Book Club for Microcosmos Geeks, where physicians, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, chiropractors, anybody who is in the health industry is invited to join to learn about how the microbiome has the main component impact in our immune system and our metabolism and every single aspect of our health, not just our physical health, but also our emotional and our mental health. I am Adriana Ponzanelli, and I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. We today discussed the book Toxic, Heal Your Body from Mold Toxicity, Lyme Disease, Multiple Chemical Sensitivities, and Chronic Environmental Illness. We are the Microbiome Book Club for Microcosmos Geeks, where physicians, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, chiropractors, anybody who is in the health industry is invited to join to learn about how the microbiome has the main component impact in our immune system and our metabolism and every single aspect of our health, not just our physical health, but also our emotional and our mental health. I am Adriana Ponzanelli, and I love you. Thank you for being here.